Absolutely not. I think it was an absolute rant on your programme yesterday. I think it was misleading and inaccurate. Now, he referred repeatedly to fracking. I think he said it 5 times. Now, let me be clear. There is no will, permission or intent from the Isle of Man government or Tynwald to pursue fracking. That's not what's being proposed, and it's misleading to say that anyone is proposing fracking. Despite saying it 5 times, that doesn't make it true. Now, he also brought up our UNESCO biosphere status, but his party was present at a meeting at the Manx Museum on the 31st of October 2018, where UNESCO Man in the Biosphere Programme specialist, Miriam Wamram, who'd come over specially to give a talk to the public, made it clear that the biosphere status does not mean that any prohibition on doing certain things, such as gas exploration, is not allowed. So
Well, just because it's legal, though, doesn't mean it's ethical.
Well, no, it's clear that as long as you do things to environmental standards, the UNESCO biosphere does not say you cannot do this or you will lose your UNESCO biosphere status, and that's what someone was trying to put forward.
But is it in keeping with the biosphere status?
Well, you have to look at what is the way forward for the Isle of Man. So I, as Chief Minister, have made a commitment to reaching net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Now, we are absolutely serious about that. However, the simple reality is, though, that fossil fuels will remain a part of our energy supply in the near future as we undertake what will be a monumental transition. Now, we've got a state-of-the-art power station that uses gas turbines that has a good 20 years of working life ahead. Now, at this stage, permission has been given to explore what actually exists, and there could be some potential benefits for the people of the Isle of Man. For example, we buy imported gas that's come from, I'm led to believe, from Norway, where the government has a taxation system, or call it royalties because they own it, and that's paid to the government, the Norwegian government, over 1,000 kilometres away. Now, if, and it's still a big if, we find gas that can be used in our territorial seabed, then it would be just a few kilometres to travel onto the island, so the carbon footprint of it is much lower, and royalties would be paid to the Isle of Man, which could in turn fund a new green electricity plant such as tidal or wind power for our long-term use.
Well, you talk about a few kilometres off the coast. Is this all connected to the Kroger plans, 8 to 10 miles off of Mackle?
Yeah, well, Tynwald's strategy, which was approved in 2014 by the previous administration, and we have in our programme for government, commits us to maximising the social and economic value of the island's territorial seabed. So it's whatever's in our seabed, is there a value and a use to help the Isle of Man going forward? And if we can use this as a transition, we're not saying it's going to be there for the next 100 years, we're saying if we can use this for a transitional period, then we can do what Norway have done. For example, Norway used their income from oil and gas sales to make it a world leader in the use of renewable energy and clean technology. So, this is it's a transitional way forward. It could, and there's lots of ifs, but if it's found and if it successfully can be brought onto the island, it could bring cheaper gas to the people of the Isle of Man, power our own gas turbines whilst we transform over to a new fully 100% green, and I've been energy source. I've been very passionate that personally one of my pet projects is we have a tidal race off the Point of Ayre which would generate electricity for 23.5 hours a day, and the technology isn't maybe as efficient as you would want at the moment, or cost efficient, and I've had meetings with the First Minister of Wales, and I've had meetings with the Metropolitan Mayor of Liverpool, who are looking and working on tidal developments to see if that technology will be suitable for the Isle of Man.
Okay, well, you talk about a lot of ifs, as you've already said, but your government is actively looking into what areas they can investigate and explore. So how much is being spent on that investigation at the moment?
We have not put any money in. It's up to the private company to do the seismic study themselves and gather all the evidence themselves. We held a licensing round for people to tender for the right to explore what we have in the island seabed. That's it. No taxpayers' money. And if I can just tackle the last point that was raised in this rant yesterday, is that the government's majority in Tynwald. Now, it was suggested that I'd run some sort of 88% government where everyone has to vote for me. And if anyone who follows votes in Tynwald will know that being a department member does not require you to vote with the government. You only have to vote with the department that you're working on, where you've come up with the policy. Now, there are countless examples of members of a department voting against motions or legislation put forward by another department. It happens at almost every sitting. The Lord Lisvane report said the Council of Ministers government was not to have an automatic majority in Tynwald. We don't have it. We have to work with all the other members of Tynwald to achieve consensus to take things forward. So suggesting that government has an 88% majority is absurd, naive and misleading.
Well, just to tackle one more point before we go, because we are running out of time, sadly. Talking about people, you're going to disagree with Andrew Newton, he's going to disagree with you. But what scientific advice are you getting as a government, and how often are you consulting?
Well, as I said, we are committed to our net zero emissions. It's a statement I've made, and we're not just saying that. We have brought in Professor Curran to do an independent report to advise the Isle of Man government and the people of the Isle of Man on how we should go forward to achieve that aim.
And is he looking into this offshore fossil fuel exploration?
Evidence will have been given, I'm sure, by both sides.